Let's start this from the beginning. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Trezell West. This is Jacqueline West. And their two sons are missing. Their sons, Orrin and Orson, are missing. And we're here because it's easier to charge them than for them to explain why they couldn't find them. They've been married 12 years in March. Trezell will explain, and you'll hear in the interview, that when he first met Jacqueline, her understanding of love and their love together changed his whole perspective on things. It changed how he saw religion. He goes into it with the detectives. That love manifested into a little family of 8. And they were proud of the life they had built and moved out to the desert and got themselves a little house. This is COVID times. Some people hoard toilet paper. Some people drank and knit. And other people's kind of moved on from urban areas because they saw the system come to a halt. That is what the West did. They went out to Cal City to try to be self-reliant. And let's face it, out in Cal City, they are unique. They are a biracial family of 8 made up of couples of brothers that are also biracial. They are an artist and a producer who are trying to be self-reliant out in Cal City, who homeschooled their children, and yes, primarily make $4,000 a month to support that family of 8 for taking care of children none of us were taking care of. And this is suspicious to Cal City. And you can see that from the start of this investigation. This is all suspicious to them. And with uniqueness also comes oddness sometimes. And you can see in the interviews when they talk to Cal City, sometimes they say some odd things, but they are always forthright. They are always sharing everything with Cal City PD because they want to be removed as suspects so they can find their boys. And sometimes they say some things that are true, but Cal City doesn't want to hear. In the spirit of openness, Jackie explains sometimes she forgets their anniversary. That's a Trezell thing. Trezell explains it is easier and more hygienic to sit down when he pees. That is the level of openness they are giving Cal City PD so they can check them off and find their kids. They started adopting because they heard about brothers that get torn apart in the system. They didn't know family members could get separated in the system. And Trezell, working as a security guard, realizes all he's getting done is getting paid to stop homeless people from stealing food, and decides, you know what, why don't I spend my time trying to help kids? And when he gets there, he starts to realize there's not a lot of males in the system, let alone males of color, let alone black males who are going to be fathers to black children in the system. He tells this to detectives. That is why he got involved. But he also explains to the detective that once you get involved, after about 60 some odd kids come ripping in and out of your house, after a teenager puts hands on you in your own house, you start to feel different. You have to kind of compartmentalize. And Jacqueline says the same thing. And because of this, they love their children, but love that gets drugged through the system is a little bit different. Cal City doesn't like that. And they'll say it in the interview. And although they have no experience with adoption or fostering, they don't really like some of the answers they're getting. Trezell explains the reason why he got Orrin and Orson and why he was so proud of them is they were 2 little black boys just like him. And he was going to be a father to them, and he was going to raise them and be there for them. And then he's in his backyard and they go missing. And now he's sitting here on trial. Because they can't answer where the boys went. And they can't account for this. This is the video as explained in the opening. We know up in here, this is not as good, the TV's gone, but my body would have blocked the TV. You're going to get a chance to see this. We'll go through this later. As we've heard, we're going to review all this footage. Up in here, we know that is where Mr. West is doing yard work. I'll start this. You know, this is getting around the time, right, the mark when we know. And we know that Mr. West turns the lights on once they've realized the children are missing. I want you to look right up here. You'll see some light, something going on right here. And keep paying attention because eventually whatever's causing that's going to show itself. because Mr. West says once he knows it happened all so fast, he's telling officers he thinks it might be 3 minutes, which they don't like. So the light source is back, and now what's causing that reveals itself. That is a car going down 108, leaving the area. This is the West house. That's a car leaving the area about at the end of the block from their house. You will now notice we're in the time, Mr. Smith pointed out, the 6:20 where he leaves to start to begin that the boys are missing. And we're about a minute out from this light turning on. So they can't explain that. I'm willing to bet most officers don't even know about that. And you'll see in the interviews, they think the 3-minute estimate he gives them is too small. You hear him talk about it. About a minute out from that car leaving. We know the light goes on when they've started to realize that they are not in the yard and they are not inside. It's about a minute and a half from when that car went by. Something else they don't have answers for. There's give or take 41 registered sex offenders in Cal City. It means 41 individuals we put on a list because they are a risk to children. They don't talk to any until January 1st. That's not the 22nd, the 23rd, the 24th, the 25th, the 26th, the 27th, the 28th, the 29th, the 30th, the 31st. I'm not going to put this down, but you know the first comes next. That's when they talk to sex offenders. And all of them know. They went to 4 houses. They talked to 2. One, they talked to the person's mom. That apparently was enough for them. And then they talked to a roommate. The others, they don't have an answer for that. Before they ever do this, they get a call from someone named Hector Rodriguez. He tells them he's got information. He wants to talk to an agent. He's worried for his safety. Tells them you need to check a house in Blythe, but I need someone to talk to me. They check the house in Blythe. They don't ever contact them. Hector Rodriguez, with that same birth date, is a sex offender in Kern County who's been out of compliance since 2009. They don't talk to him. He went to them. Got glossed over a little bit, but there is, in the initial paperwork from CPS, when this is starting to develop, as well as in official filings, the definitive statement, there is video footage of the children walking down the street. And now everyone's like, well, you'll see them. No one really knows where that came from. No one knows who said it, why it's written so definitively. They'll tell you they wrote that, meaning that's like a suggestion of something they're hoping to find. It's pretty definitive. It's in a court filing. They won't be able to explain that. A woman in Texas called them. That's fine. Let's continue. Texas, a woman calls and says around Christmas time she sees two little black boys in the neighborhood. She says eventually she meets them and she is told their names are Orrin and Orson. And a man corrects him and says, no, your name's Derek. That's never followed up on. Just also, they don't have answers for how inconsistent some of this investigation is. There will be cops that will say there's no diapers, but there is diapers. There will be officers that say there's no chalk, well, there is chalk. There will be officers that say there wasn't clothes, well, there is clothes. There will be officers that say there was no toothbrushes, there were toothbrushes. There will be some officers who rely on the fact that the dogs didn't smell the boys specifically. You will hear from the dog handler that the dog smells cadavers or humans. The dogs that were there were not trained to smell individuals specifically. And she'll tell you when she was there the first night, the dog couldn't do much because the area had so many people walking around through the yard, it was contaminated. And she'll tell you the only job they gave her was follow the route that Trezell's van took to see if the dog finds body parts. That's the first night. Also, the videos we will discuss about boys, the family coming or the family going, even by the officer's account, they can only identify 3 boys. There's issues with that footage. There's issues with these interviews. They're inconsistent. The boys are inconsistent from what they're saying. They contradict what adults that were in Cal City say. They retract things they've said. They've gone back on certain statements. They conflict with each other. And what you will see is interview techniques used by Officer Hansen is improper for children. And with Officer Hansen, it also extends to adults. That is a table. That is Miss West. That is his hand on her thigh. He never handled this investigation like she was the mother of missing sons. This was a tragic accident, is what the evidence will show. All right? They don't have an answer for it because it was tragic. But instead, Trezell is here on a murder charge. The bottom line is Cal City out the gate just never thought anyone would take 2 little black boys. That's why the investigation will look the way it did. This is Trezell West, this is Jacqueline West, and their 2 little boys are missing. Thank you.